Yeah, this is gonna be a long video. What's up, everybody? Well, college football is a very entertaining sport, I must say, and it helps the NFL get a lot of new players, a lot of younger players that could really be the future of the NFL. But when it actually comes to college and the teams itself, it's kind of a mystery to me because they're all kind of new to me. They're all very different from the NFL teams. So I figured I like a lot of the college football teams. So I might as well put together a tier list of the teams in college football that I like, that I dislike, and just stack up the teams against each other. Now, the teams that are at the highest tier, I don't really have a favorite team, and so that tier is really just all over the place. Any of them could be my favorite team, but yeah, with that, let's just get into D tier. D tier is the shortest tier, and it doesn't have that many teams in it, and it's mostly compiled of teams that I've either never heard of or know little to nothing about. But there is one team here in D tier that I particularly dislike, and that is the Ohio State Buckeyes. While it has had great quarterbacks that I like Justin Fields and CJ Stroud, there's really nothing to like for me about this franchise. I just don't like them, especially with other teams in their conference that I just like better. Now we're at C tier, and C tier is probably the largest section in my entire list. And there's just a lot of teams here, and you can start to see from the teams that are popping up here on the screen that it's mostly compiled of teams that are good but not great. However, there is a couple of exceptions like the ones you see up here on the screen right now. Let's head to B tier. And this section is not as long, but still really long. But you've got some pretty good teams in here. The quality of teams in B is definitely higher than the quality of teams in C tier. And there are some teams that I would actually like to directly shout out here in B tier because there are a lot of good teams and a lot of teams that I would like to particularly shout out. For example, I'd like to shout out Minnesota and Northwestern for being schools that I played with in College Football 25. I'd like to shout out Notre Dame for allowing us to be on their field. I made a video about that if you'd like to see it. And finally, I'd also like to shout out our folks over in the Army, Navy, and Air Force. Thank you for serving our country. And finally, we go to A tier. And A tier is fun because none of the teams are really better than each other. They're all really good in their own right. I like MTSU because they're somewhat local and have a good acting organization. My uncle went to Indiana, and also Michael Penix Jr. was fun to watch while he was there, even though I kind of have some bad memories from watching him beat Penn State, who is also up here in A tier. And I like Penn State because Penn State has a lion in the name, as I mentioned in the short, which is just this, but shorter. And I also like the color scheme of Penn State. The biggest reason why I like Michigan is because I played for them in Road to Glory as well as Minnesota and Northwestern, except I played for Michigan for 2 years before I went to the NFL. So that was fun. You've also got two teams that I like, mostly just because they're good in the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs. Duke is my favorite college basketball team, so it just translates over. Florida's one of my favorites because I went to one of their games, and even though they lost to Florida State in that game, it was actually last year, but ultimately they were a cool school because I loved the college football atmosphere that they had, and they land themselves here. Honestly, Oklahoma is just Ohio State, but better. They've got a great quarterback history, and I also like the rest of the team, and they've got cool uniforms, and their quarterback history is good. They've had Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams, and even Spencer Rattler, even though he isn't quite panning out at the NFL level. Talk about a team with another great history. You've got the LSU Tigers. That 2019 squad is one of my favorites of all time. And the LSU Tigers are just a fun school because they've got a great color scheme. They've had some great history with players like Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. And they've also had new stars that are still in the NFL today, like Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors. I like Kentucky mostly because they have a great color scheme. I like Wisconsin because we visit the state frequently, and it has one of the best logos in all of college football, in my opinion. No, I'm not a bandwagon fan. Both my parents went to Vanderbilt, so I like Vanderbilt because of that. Now we've got Cincinnati to end it off, and Cincinnati's cool because I got to actually run on the field as opposed to Notre Dame, where you just got to stand from the sideline and look at the field. And it was awesome to just run across that field and experience that feeling just running across a college football field, which I also made a short about that one if you want to go check it out. And I also like this school because they've got a good theater program, and we went to visit that school, and it's just a good school all around. But what team are you a fan of? What is your favorite college football team? Let me know down in the comments. And before you leave this video, just note that I do not have a favorite college football team. Ohio State's probably my least favorite college football team, but I do not have a favorite college football team. But with that being said, let me know down in the comments what college football team you are a fan of. And with that, peace!